The Competition Commission is appealing to the Constitutional Court to conclude that a number of banks that were excused from being tried by the Competition Appeal Court in the so-called manipulation of the RAND case be included as respondents in a future trial.
They're saying that a dollar should be 7 rand in South Africa, not 18 rand 50.
The Constitutional Court in Braamfontein is today hearing the Competition Commission's appeal in the RAND manipulation case.
This is the type of news that should be trending. And I'm realizing that South Africa, we are being scammed. We're being scammed every day of our lives.
The Constitutional Court in Braamfontein is today hearing the Competition Commission's appeal in the RAND manipulation case. In fact, it's day 2 of their litigation. Last year, the Competition Appeal Court dismissed the case against some of the 28 institutions who are accused of conspiring to manipulate the local currency against the US dollar.
Good morning, Ayanda. Yes, so we've actually just, the proceedings have just gone back inside, and there was a brief adjournment, a brief break, if you would want to call it that. And yes, some of the banks, like the Bank of America and as well as the ANZ representing Australia and New Zealand group, they have made submissions since yesterday. And this morning, the Bank of America had engaged with a Q&A with the panel of judges, and mainly arguing for the lack of jurisdiction that the Competition Commission has, and that the appeal should still be upheld by the Competition's Appeals Court. And just before we break, we heard from the 5th respondent, which is ANZ, Australia and New Zealand, and they basically also saying that the case against them should be completely scrapped, that they've demonstrated it enough, that there isn't sufficient evidence, simply because some of the workers that are cited in the papers of the Competition Commission, one was not even working for the bank at the said time, and the other was not in the chat room, but simply there were copy and paste happening. But that is still continuing, where we're expecting the Q&A to take place between the panel of judges as well as the legal representative of respondent number 5, which is ANZ. But I've asked the Competition Commission to join me this morning just to get their overview of how proceedings are going. And just yesterday, remember, they are the ones that started this process, and also represented by Advocate Ngugai Toby, had made their submission to the Constitutional Court. And Mr. Mahale Muhlala from the Competition Commission is joining me. Thank you so much, Mr. Muhlala, for your time. Your overview of how proceedings are going currently, and since yesterday, what has been said, are you satisfied with how everything is moving?
Yes, good morning. Yes, so far I think the proceedings are going very well. We made our case yesterday, and today the banks have started making their case. We are on bank number 2 of the 15 that still have to make their case in between today and Friday. So basically, our case is that the competition authorities, in particular the Competition Commission and the Competition Tribunal, have jurisdiction to prosecute traders that manipulated the South African rand. It's the case we've made before the court. We made it very clear that other jurisdictions, the Americans, have prosecuted traders for manipulating the dollar. The British have done the same for manipulating the pound, so as the Europeans for the euro, and lately the Australian for the Australian dollar. So the South African rand, no one has prosecuted anybody for the manipulation of the South African rand, and the South African Competition Commission and Tribunal are the only authority vested with responsibility of prosecuting such kind of conduct. So if you say we don't have jurisdiction, who will prosecute colluders that have manipulated the rand?
on the minds of many South Africans this morning when they've seen the headlines about that particular case. A lot of people want to know the amount of damage that has been done economically. Of course, it may be difficult to quantify, but perhaps you could give our viewers who will have an idea at the end of this about just how serious this is and why we got here in the first place.
Look, it is difficult to quantify, but the part of the reason we want to prosecute this case is that we want all those details about the amount of damage the manipulations have caused to come out during trial. So those details we're going to get. Once the Concord rule in our favor that we have jurisdiction, we are going to prosecute this matter. And during the prosecution, details about to what extent has the damage been made to the South African economy as a result of this manipulation, those details will come out during trial.
Guys, Nivile or Asgafiki Kuni Ezindaba, they're saying that a dollar should be 7 rand in South Africa, not 18 rand 50. And then it's right. That's how it should be. Bro, we grew up being told that, hey, Baba, in South Africa, you know, gold. In South Africa, I don't know, I think we have platinum mines. We do have diamond mines. We do have coal mines and gold mines. In South Africa, in South Africa. You understand? But in what does the United States have? What does those European countries have as minerals? What is it that they are producing so much that us as Africans, let me not talk about South Africa, us as Africans can't produce for ourselves? Or what mineral do they have in these European countries that us as Africans can have? Bro, we have everything in Africa, bro. Even if we can say, fuck Europe, at the end of the day, we will still survive without them. But we could be the richest continent if we woke up tomorrow and decide that we don't want any connection with Asian countries and with European countries. Africa could do well. We don't care. We have spices from India. We have, we also have the biggest, in agriculture. We are doing good. We can survive without any other thing. We'll do sunflower oil, man. We'll do sunflower oil. We don't care about oil from somewhere. We'll survive with sunflower oil. We'll do whatever we do. You understand? We'll survive, in fact. I'm telling you, dog. Can survive without these people. Imagine a dollar is 18 rand 50 while it should be 7 rand. Angaz, lo sisilowenza video, we explain it lokuthi basirobha njani. Mna zange ndenza economics or whatever. I can't understand, but in my logic, when I'm adding up the things South Africa is doing, or what we have in our, what can I say? Is it secondary sector? What we are producing in the secondary sector of our country, yeah, it should be 7 rand.
The legal representatives of Australia and New Zealand financial services company ANZ, which is the 5th respondent in the case, argue that the application should be dismissed as it has no prospect of success.
At the most fundamental level, there is nothing at all against ANZ. And it's remarkable that we have been dragged through years and years of proceedings where the Commission has been given opportunity after opportunity to come up with something better. They've come up with nothing better. And it should now stop.
This is the type of news that should be trending. And I'm realizing that South Africa, we are being scammed. We're being scammed every day of our lives. Can you imagine the governor announced this should be everywhere? that the rand should be actually 7 rand to the dollar and not 18 rand 50 to the dollar. Now, there is a measure that they use, which is the purchasing power parity that they use to measure how strong or how weak a currency is. So it's agreed that the rand should be 7 rand. Even the World Bank agrees that it should be around 7 rand or 7 rand 40 cents to the dollar, but it's sitting at 18 rand 50. Now, when they are explaining this nonsense as to why we are buying things for more money and our bread is higher, everything is inflated because of this currency thing, we are told that investors don't have confidence in us, which I call it a fib. Because how is it that the Saudis are busy buying into Limpopo, Abasa Israel are buying Cape Town? Which investors are scared? They tell us that the country is not stable. The audacity to tell us that our president right now is sitting allegedly with 3 IDs. We did nothing. He went and took loans. We did nothing. He had money under his couch. We still didn't do anything. So we are very predictable, by the way, because we don't do anything. I think they even put Xanax in our water, because how are we this calm? Then again, the other reason is that there's corruption in the country. Says the very corrupt people that manipulated the rand. I was at bank now. I'm saying all these major banks. They manipulated the banks, the rand back then. Nothing happened to them. They're still operational. And then they want to tell us that the rand is at 18 rand 50 because of corruption. Are you mad? Do you understand that even with FX trading, this affects when we trade with other nations, when we buy and sell? Do you understand that affects us when Ramaphosa goes and takes loans, since he's doing that almost every month now? When he goes and takes those loans, he takes them at these rates, which is higher for us. This shouldn't be. This shouldn't be. Kusho ukuthi we are suffering because of them. We know that there are certain individuals that control the rand and nabo junk status, but we are in junk status as we speak. But it's clear to me that South Africa doesn't really have a big problem economically. The problem is that the people that control everything need to keep us poor. We don't really even need these investors if our currency is strong, because we can reinvest our money to our own economy. They need to keep us dependent on them. They need to keep us poor as worker bees. And that is where the problem is. South Africans, we should be living the soft life. We should be soft life specialists right now and not depending on common criminals to buy us hotels and Range Rovers.
Meanwhile, Nedbank describes the Commission's case against it as extremely narrow. The bank pointed out faults contained in the submission of the Commission, some of which include an accusation of quotes being withheld, while another participant trades, constituting fixing and colluding.
What we see is that the case against Nedbank is based on sporadic allegations of cryptic market conduct that the Commission has effectively thumbsucked from a set of trading data. And I say thumbsucked advisedly. What the Commission has is a record of these quotes. The record itself does not say that a particular bank is withholding quotes. What the Commission is assessing, observing, is that a particular bank did not post a quote.
Genuinely speaking, this is what annoys me with us as South Africans. We're not angry at the right problem. If you want to understand why is the rand manipulated, go back to what was happening back in, I think, from 1994 till about 2013. The banks have been manipulating the rand. Banks have been strategically ensuring that the rand does not gain value. We all know this. It's also a very large reason why you are unemployed, Doug. They have been sabotaging us now for decades. And we run back to the very same people who tell us that our problems are because of people who look like us. I will say
there is corruption in politics in South Africa, but there is corruption all over the world. France is corrupt. Every country in Europe is corrupt. Every country in the United States is corrupt. Governments are just corrupt. If you exist in a capitalist system, corruption is just part of it. It's not a byproduct. It's just literally part of the process. But funny enough, corruption only ever affects people who look like us. Always remember that. We are not poor because of corruption. We are poor because corruption is being used to justify the reason that you're poor. The Mkwanazi Commission, as much as I agree with the accountability, don't get me wrong, I agree with the accountability, but it is not the reason why Utaki is poor. The reason why Utaki is poor is because we have players within our economy who do not act in the interest of our economy. Where the majority of the crime is not corruption. The majority of the crime and the reason why you're poor is because we have been economically handicapped, systematically deprived of any economic activity in our country. That's why we are poor. They've been manipulating our currency. And instead of us being outraged at that, we are looking at each other as the problems. If we eliminating corruption is not a problem. That is not a problem. We can eliminate corruption tomorrow, but we'll still be sitting with the position that we're sitting because we don't have wealth. We still have banks that are determining the value of our currency. And they have been ensuring that they sabotage our economy for decades. That is where the outrage should be more than anything, Doug. That's where we need to be angry. That's what we need to be angry about. The rand is sitting where it's sitting and not at 7 rand to the dollar because banks have been ensuring that they reduce the value of our rand, of our currency, while living in the same country, while claiming to be South African. While telling us and claiming that they're South African, they want to be recognized as part of us. And yet they have been sabotaging the very same home that they claim to love and they claim to now not want to move to the Americas for. They're saying today that they don't want to move to America, they want to stay here. And yet they are literally creating holes on the ship that we are currently on. And that for me, that is really where the majority of the outrage should be, not at each other.
Standard Bank alleges that the Commission refused to meet with it regarding the allegations of rand rigging levelled against it. It detailed the frustration it experienced as it sought to convince the Commission that the person who it alleges was a trader was actually a salesperson, and referred to the financial harm caused by the Commission's conduct.
It told the court that in the moments after that press release in February 2017, when the Commission went to the media before going to any of the banks, at least Standard Bank in this case could speak for itself, the bank's share price dropped 3.8% in the few days after that press announcement. And it indicated that at that time, that drop in share value equated to 8.5 billion rand. That was the prejudice to Standard Bank, because the Commission would not engage it at any point prior to the referral.
Okay, let me also close this door, actually. I want you guys to listen, and I want you to listen clearly, okay? They are manipulating the value of the rand so that it is undervalued, so that they can sell you products so that you keep living in a capitalistic system. The banks hold power and they do not serve the people, more so people of color. Do you understand now? Do you still not understand? Okay, hold up. I really don't get it. I really don't get us people as like people from here. I don't get us. I don't get it. Hey Baba, a whole governor came out and was like, hey Baba, Rand is supposed to be 7 to the dollar. What do you mean? A whole governor making a public statement like that. And Batua just, Like, how long have we known about the existence of cartels like the Stellenbosch Mafia, bankers, exista? Like, you know, sometimes it really does feel like only a handful of us are panicking. Only a handful of us are panicking. Like, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this as logically as you possibly. We are in a post-apartheid system. And it's a post-apartheid system. And before you come at me, no, this is not political. This is history. Listen up. It's economics. Don't do that. We are in a post-apartheid economy, right? We're in a post-apartheid country. Tell me now, say if I was to go to a bank, right? And this is nothing new. This is something that actually dawned onto me that my uncle told me about like years ago. And it's now just coming back to me like, tell me why, if I, a black dude, right? Heck, even if I wasn't black, say maybe I was like colored, right? Colored person. I go to the bank and send that on. I go to the bank, right? And say I go with my white friend, which is a very, very small handful of people because, So I go to the bank with my white friend, right? Why is it that I, as a person of color, right? As a person of color, I have less chances of getting a bank loan compared to another white guy. Like, you get me? Like, we're both unemployed. We both lack certain essential assets. You don't like what? Emona urobetse like right now. Urobetse right now. Like there, yo. All of the lights are flashing. Because historically speaking, let's take a look at the African colonies, right, who freed themselves from colonialism. Specifically, maybe let's say, most popular example right now would be Burkina Faso. Yeah? Bonini. Ibrahim Traore didn't even accept the bank loans. He didn't even. And now Burkina Faso is thriving. It's right. Actually, also, let's bring it back to the fact that the RAND was manipulated, right? Let's bring it back to the manipulation. If you can manipulate a currency, you can manipulate an economy. If you can manipulate an economy, what else do you think you can control? Rudimente, bro. Rudimente. I'm not gonna be the first person to say this, but where we are headed right now, by the way I see it, now I could be fear-mongering. I'm probably fear-mongering. I mean that is my content. So like the way I see it, where we're headed right now, we are headed for dog, the government's about to fall apart. The government is actually about to fall apart, bruh. You see right now, we are in the just before. Tensions are rising, people are angry. Hey Baba, like you see the video I just made, 2010. So go puma ngoku esinye isikhathi like go puma lewe yaka rough, like people are angry. Like, oh, hi. It gets harder and harder to have hope every day.
The accusation was that these 28 banks had colluded between 2007 and 2013 to manipulate the rand for their own profit. Trying to manipulate the market for foreign exchange is a massive deal. This is basically how it works. Whenever you want to do business with somebody in another country who uses a different currency to your country, you both need to find a common currency to do the buying and selling, the trading in. And generally, people trade in dollars. So if you are a South African wanting to do business with somebody overseas, even if they're not in America, you generally have to go and take the rands that you have and buy dollars. And banks play a massive role in how most people buy foreign currency. They often have their own foreign currency that they trade on their own behalf, but they often create channels through which everyday South African or businessmen around the world can do easy foreign exchange purchase and trade. And through these processes, they make profit, they make commission. And in our fundamentally globally interconnected world where virtually all goods and services and industries are involved in international trade, the foreign exchange market for currencies to do deals in has a massive effect on a ton of industries. It's obviously imports and exports, but it's a ton of other things, including direct foreign investment, public and private debt, financial assets, and the price of many goods and services. So what's collusion and how does colluding generally work? Well, ideally in capitalism, the way that prices are regulated is that a bunch of companies are competing to provide you a good, a product, a service. And they try to compete to get your business instead of you going somewhere else in two ways. The first way is they increase quality. So they say our stuff is literally better than the other stuff. And the second way they do that is they drop price. So that's how it's supposed to work. But unfortunately, sometimes companies that are all providing the same product, and I'm going to use bread in this example, say all the bakeries in a country that are providing all the bread for the entire population stop competing with each other, thereby driving up quality and driving down price. Instead, they all secretly agree to all raise their prices together and keep them similar, which means that none of them is out competing each other on price. But what that means is if you want to buy bread, you have to buy from one of these bread makers and all of them have raised their price. And so you have to swallow the price that they're selling the bread at, which means that all of these colluding companies make more money. And it screws the consumer. So in the vast majority of countries in the world, there are laws in place against collusion because they don't want people to get screwed over by creators of goods and services who then dominate the market so that nobody else can get in and then all agree to raise the prices. That is literally what South Africa's Competitions Commission and Competitions Tribunal is for. So let's apply this to the market for foreign exchange. There are all of these different banks, 28 banks, trying to convince you, a South African business person who wants to do business with somebody overseas, to go and buy foreign exchange through their channel that they have created for you. And if they're all competing with each other, then they're going to try to undercut each other and attract your business by offering lower rates. But then that means that even if they get your business, they're making less money, less commission per transaction. But what if all the banks secretly got together and agreed that they would all raise their prices for doing foreign exchange? So then you, as the business person, don't have a cheaper bank to go to. No matter what bank you go to, it's going to be expensive because they've fixed the value, manipulated the value of the rand away from the competitive market so that they get bigger commissions, bigger personal profits.